Hey everybody, happy Hanukkah and happy 12/12 Gateway. I thought I would just give you a little peek at what I'm seeing out my window right now. And I'm set up here. I've done a bunch of shuffling already, so we're going to put the camera down. Oops, get this where it's going to stay. Put the camera down and we're going to begin. I wanted to bring a special reading to you for this portal. I feel a really big opportunity is opened up for us this time to step through. And you know what, this time I feel I'm getting like the word bump. There's going to be some people, it's like standing in the door of an airplane if you're going to go skydiving, and if it were me, don't think I could ever jump out on my own. I would be that person that they would have to push. And so these gateways are really more of the push. So up in between them, it's more like the energy keeps flowing in, increasing all the time. And then a gateway like this comes and there's always going to be a bump and a push. We're getting to a point, you guys, where we're closing in on the shift. Oh, look at that. Look what's at the bottom of the deck there. So I was going to cut the deck, and then I saw that, and it's interesting because just today this card came up when Lisa and I were doing our channeling for the Translate Tarot app, and we're receiving insights and messages. So that came up for a reason. I'm supposed to read that message to you guys. I knew that I would likely read maybe one or two of the insights that have come up for us. So let me go ahead, and it'll take a minute for the computer to get going where I can bring that up. So I'll bring that in later. So that message really wanted to come out today, and my computer's being weird. Why is it not turning on? So, this card has, I think there aren't any of us who are disappointed to see this card come up, right? It is one that really truly speaks of so much of what the twin flame journey is really about. We have the 1111, we have the stability of a 4, we have the union and the celebration of union. And I'm just going to read what they told us today about it, and then we'll move on into our reading. So, all right. This is unedited, so you're getting it just the way it is. This is truly home. The 1111 balance, the stability of 4 points of a foundation. This is remembering to come home to what feels like home, hitting your intuition and resetting home. Balance will be restored when you come home. Connection inside the self with the divine. Family, community, and friends. Connection, connection, connection. And balance within that connection. When you pick this card, you start from here and you intuitively connect the rest of the cards from this place of home within you. The wands have a propulsion upwards. Yes, you have the stability of the earth and the connection to home here, but it propels upward to the angelic realms. Wands are indicative of wishes, intentions, and dreams, and the ability to create everything that means home to you. The flowers in the canopy represent the bounty and the beauty that comes from the creativity of the wands. So that was actually a much shorter message than we often receive, but it was so succinct and to the point. I think it really said everything that needed to be said there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and shuffle a couple more times, and then we'll cut the deck and see what Spirit has for us. We're going to do a message for the Divine Feminine and the Divine Masculine combined, where each of them are at, and then what are the energies between the two, and just see what comes out. And I'm putting, what came to me was that this message really is talking about the energies between now and the solstice. So I think probably the next time I do a reading for you guys will be around the solstice. And then we'll kind of go from there. So let's see what happens. Thank you, Spirit, for the messages that you'll bring us now. We'll put the feminine on the left and the masculine on the right. Okay, I'm thinking 3. I'll do my pyramid on each side. We'll take a look at that in a minute. So let's take a look at the foundation of the feminine first, where she's been at and where she is right now at this time of the portal of the 12/12. See if we can make sure we all see that just right. And okay, so we have here, first of all, I look at the center of this spread to kind of get, you know, the where everything spreads out from here. And this card here, it's funny, it came up to me for me today in another reading, and it can mean a lot of different things, but right now I'm feeling it's about the, you know, taking a look at all of the different experiences and the things that we have had that have really marked our progress and our process through the state, you know, the awakening that we've been through. If we actually, it just came to me right now that 12, 12, 12, that point, you know, it was really kind of the apex of when the shift would most likely have occurred. And we know that it obviously got delayed. The energy is ripe and ready for this shift to happen anytime, even up to that point or after that point. They say up until about 2023, and then after that, like, it will happen between now and 2023. 12, 12, 12, instead of it being the apex of when it would all happen, it really turned out to be a marker, I think, for many of us to look back on and say, yeah, that was like the beginning of my awakening. I mean, I look back at mine and it happened before that as well, but this is really what they're talking about right now. Everything that's happened, all of the different experiences that we've had, and we're looking back on it in memories. And in those memories, there's this temptation to, you know, focus on some of the hardships that happened with all of these experiences. But instead, this aspect of us is coming in and shining a light and saying, there's so much more to this, all of these specific experiences that led into the whole entire experience of awakening and where we've come. There's so much more to that than just each individual experience that might have been some painful, you know, maybe those of us who separated from karmic partners, had divorces or separation. We lost friends. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have very many friends. I never had a lot anyway, but especially after this journey, it's not, they're like acquaintances. It's not like I haven't shut anybody out on purpose in my life. It's just that we've become on such a different wavelength that we just don't resonate with them. And so it just naturally comes to a point where you're not spending a lot of time, or, you know, you're not connecting with them as much. So that's another loss. Loss of, I'm getting like, we thought life was a certain way. Like, before my awakening really began, I thought my marriage was fine. I thought, you know, like, life was just going to kind of go on like that, you know, in the humdrum way. Although I was kind of, you know, there was restlessness within inside of me, I still had a certain picture of what life would be like. And now, after awakening occurs, after all of these experiences happen, it's so different than that. That's a life that I'll never live. I'll never have that life, which is fine, but it's just, there it is. So one thing about this card is that the person in the card is currently standing in a place of sorrow and mourning and regret. But there's also a deliberation about it that really is kind of like a victimizing. And there's a warning in this card, and I'm not saying that you guys are or that we are, but the warning is there that in the focus of what got left behind, and what is no longer there in our present situation, we can truly be even, you know, there's a danger of the victim mode. And this, right now I'm being drawn to the Hermit, and see how the Hermit's posture is so similar to his. But instead of like being in the dark shroud and the sadness, the Hermit is shedding light on the situation. So, you know, step away from these two cups as a loss, and instead, of course, we always talk about this, picking up these cups and moving forward. But when we were channeling information from our higher selves, we got a really beautiful message that nobody has ever said before, I'd never thought of before, is that what he can do is he can pick up these two chalices. He can turn all of these right side up again. So they're empty now. They're empty of what was there before. They're empty of the experiences and the emotions and the situations and the feelings. They even can represent, what's coming to me right now is they can represent the healing that you've done. It's stuff that needed to be poured out. It's stuff that was holding you back. It's the, you know, the karmic clearing and all the things that we've done. It's good that they've spilled. And yes, you can stand there and look at it regretfully. But what the other opportunity here is to pick all those cups up, put them right side up, and then take these two that are full and you can pour them into here. And they're like the Ace of Cups. Whatever's in there is, if you're pouring it out, it can pour out, forever, and they won't empty. So you could literally you could end up with 5 full cups again, instead of just, only just taking these 2 and moving on. You actually can fill up the chalices, which are really yourself. And, what do you have room for in your life? So all of that has happened. This is what we're looking at right now. We're standing on this. We're not even looking at it so much. It's like just here, because it's showing us this, whatever shows up here, we're standing on this. And so even though this spread itself doesn't look like this is all roses and happiness, it's like there was hard work, but it built a foundation for whatever comes next. So let's go over here and take a look at the Divine Masculine and see what he's up against, what is his foundation here. And of course, we have, some great masculine cards showing up. I'm not surprised, since that's who we're looking at right now. Whether you're in a male or female body, if you're the Divine Feminine or Divine Masculine, we know that that's not relevant. Okay, so his experiences right now, central to his experiences, are the win that was also a loss, the win that came at a cost, the win and the victory that left something to be desired. That's the perception. The Emperor, we know, is the man that, he's the ultimate masculine card of the deck that really embodies the Divine Masculine. And he has, all that yang energy. He moves forward, he conquers, he achieves. And, he's got this gold coin in his hand, his riches and wealth. He's got the scepter, which is his ruling ability, his decision-making abilities. That's all present, but so far his experience of this power has come at a cost, because, in a sense, it's not even that unlike what we're seeing over here. What we had over here was all of these different experiences, and there were like negative experiences within the positive. The masculine has experienced that as well, but there's still a very strong focus of this, still not really seeing the full picture. In fact, in this story here, we never can truly know exactly what happened. There's so many different ways this story could read, and so for each Divine Masculine, there's different ways the story has read or could read. But regardless of that, there's something in it that has caused him to really decide to stand his ground. And again, this being a foundation experience of where he's been is really powerful, because whatever occurred to make this happen also brought on his recognition that it's time to stand. And one thing about this card here that I find really interesting is that, in a sense, this guy here is a giant. See, the way the land looks underneath him, it actually more looks like hills and like something you would see in a distance. And there's been incredible growth. So for him to get to the point where he stands like this, and it just actually is interesting for me. I've had 2 dreams about my twin where each time I saw him in my dream, he was really, really, really tall. And my twin isn't terribly tall. He's like 5'11". He's not short, but he's not tall. And in my dream, he was really tall. And every single dream I have, I dissect these kinds of little cues when I wake up, and I think about the meaning. And what it was there is to show that there has been growth. So this experience, even though you might look at the experience and say, what I've been through has been, there's been negative sides to it, that has provided for an opportunity for incredible growth. And in that growth, he's able to stand up. And this is really good because, the Divine Masculine is coming into his, the beingness of like really owning his beautiful nature, which is interesting too, because right now on a large scale, we really see the masculine being quite browbeaten, like there's a lot of crap that's coming up, in a public way about how the masculine has actually really abused his power, and it's been a bad thing. And so that could even be some of this, the result of this situation was, well, you might have beat them, but you were really being a bully about it. Or perhaps he, the Divine Masculine is these people in the background and somebody beat him. We don't know for sure. Every situation might be different, but all of those experiences still caused growth, and he is growing. He is growing into the true being of who he is here. Let's see what comes next. Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm actually going to do all three because I feel like that's supposed to lead up to there. And this card came up in our reading today. So again, I just feel like I'm supposed to read to you. It was the first card that came up. And so first of all, anytime we have a character card, you know, Queen, Knight, Page, King, it's always talking about personality traits. And so even though this is on the Divine Feminine side, and it's a masculine card, this is really beautiful because it's telling us that these are characteristics that we're embodying right now in this. You know, this is the day, again, the Festival of Lights. This is a 12/12 gateway. Light is really pouring in, and I'm getting goosebumps on my left side. So higher self coming in big way, affirming this message. This is about the Divine Feminine. This is not about him coming in here. This is her. And this is what we received about the Knight today. The Knight, this Knight, is the strongest. It has the strongest will and is the strongest of all of the knights with the masculine force. And so she's really coming into, like, bringing in the masculine energy into her right now with the light that's coming through. Knight of, for example, compared to the other knights, the Knight of Swords is quite reckless, and he'll go charging in, but he'll also go charging away. The Knight of Pentacles, even though he's an earthly card, he's kind of an airy-fairy guy. He's going along slowly. He's making progress, but he's not going at it very quickly. And, you know, being of the earth is actually, you know, quite connected to the fairy realms. And so there's something of him that's a little less solid, masculine, than the Knight of Wands. And then the Knight of Cups, of course, is the lover. He's the sweet one, and he brings love. But the Knight of Wands, he's tried and true. And in fact, we saw Lisa's higher self jumped on the back of the horse and sat side saddle, which is not like her because she's part Native American. You know, you would see her just, you know, sitting on a horse, like, you know, to really go somewhere. But what she was showing was she was hugging on him and resting her head on his shoulder and saying, "Oh, my knight in shining armor." And this tells us that we can really trust this guy in that way. He is very stable and dependable, and you can lean on him. And there is nothing that is stopping him. This is the masculine, get the job done. You can count on him. And he will take it and he will drive it home and make it happen, whatever that is. That's a total yang energy. And he has the creativity to get it done. It's not like the emperor or the king, but he has the creativity and the finesse to figure out a way to get it done. Like an emperor or king can get it done because they just say it and they tell someone to do it, or they just conquer it. But the knight is the guy who has to figure it out and actually figure out how to get it done. And so this energy is coming in for us right now, as in it's coming in within sight of ourselves. And it's a result of these experiences that we've been through, from the awakening, from the realization that we actually have the creativity to pick up, and, you know, the realization that we can go about this in a whole nother way, where we take these cups that are now emptied out. This is great. I even picture him going over to the river and washing them out and getting them all clean, putting them right side up, and then filling them up with whatever these are. And that's what this guy does. So that's yielding this result right here. So the Hierophant is also very interesting that it's next to the Knight of Wands, because it's about this. The Hierophant represents all of these structures and the restrictions of the patriarchal society. As you know, they're starting to fall down, but they're still pretty well entrenched and in place. And we're like having to weed them out and pull them out, you know, to have a new way to do things. But, you know, it's not necessarily saying that it's totally a bad thing. But the Hierophant is representing what the Knight of Wands is doing. In fact, it's leaving. See, it's going away from this, but it's going and saying, I have another way of accomplishing what the Hierophant wanted to accomplish. The Hierophant wants to accomplish, you know, it's like spirituality in a sense, but it's done from a more structured perspective. And the Knight of Wands is going away from that. It's taking a different approach. And in a sense, by going away from it, I also feel like the Knight of Wands, it's creating a new way and even redefining what the Hierophant is all about. I feel that the Hierophant is a card that would in the future really take on a quite different meaning for us, as it has a, you know, it certainly has a place in the, you know, the hero's journey through the archetypes. But I feel like this is an archetype it will take on a whole new meaning for us as we move forward. And I feel like that's where the feminine is, working to do that. So we have the 10 of Pentacles here at the top, which is really quite beautiful because it's saying that what we're doing right now is we're creating this future that's your legacy. It's about creating everything that you ever really truly wanted and that you desired to have, as far as your family. You've got the old man, you've got the younger couple here, whether it's his son or his daughter and their spouse, or maybe his son and daughter, his grandchild, the dogs, and of course the estate and the wealth that goes with it. So, we really are truly creating something of lasting power, and will have staying power and lasting value in this experience right now. So just in a nutshell, I see just a lot of focus inward with the Hermit coming in here too, on the feminine. She's really not right now, got a whole lot of attention on what the masculine has going on. We're wondering, and that's why we'll look at a reading like this to see, okay, what is going on with him. But we're also very, also the Hierophant can come in and just say this really strong presence and this feeling confident and this feeling secure. And it is a yang energy as well. So, what I am seeing is quite a bit of yang energy coming in with this 12-12 portal, which I find interesting because I know that the divine feminine is all about bringing balance in, but I also know that she's, one of the biggest things that she really has been focusing on lately from the readings I've done in my own experience is about truly learning to be an empress, quality of attraction, magnetism, and bringing it all in. And yet here we see more of a the yang energy with the light of the 12-12 portal coming through. So interesting. All right, let's see what the masculine has going on here. Wow. Okay, so the 9 of Wands, this was great. This card came up yesterday, so I really got some great fresh perspective on that. Which what we're finding as we're doing these channelings is new perspectives and ideas on these cards that I'd never thought of before and that I've never heard other people say, but also very much fit. And what it was talking about was they took us into these 8 wands behind, and they showed us like there was all these lights and colors. There was a forest, there was nature, there were animals, there were trees, there were beautiful, like it was just amazing. It was like stepping into a fairyland. And so that's right behind this guy. And yet you look at the card, and this card doesn't, normally traditionally have any kind of a idea or meaning behind it like that. We look at his bandaged head, we see his expression on his face, and we see him kind of holding back, and his defensive pose. And how, compared to this guy here, this guy is like really, he's defensive too, but it's almost like he's ready to charge at these people. These wands are all coming at him, and he is seriously going to defend it to the death, and he only has 1 wand in his hand. This guy has 1 wand in his hand, but he has all the other 9 behind him, creating a barrier. And a lot of times we talk about that barrier being something, like somebody who's being guarded, and that's true. But what's really amazing to think about is that these 8 wands here, if you step into them, that you have a completely different experience. So you've set up all of this energy and you've created this wall, but it actually can be used in a completely different way other than just being defensive. Like you could just walk back into it, and then you have this infinite experience of light and all this possibility. But of course you see in the card, you don't see him doing that. You see him standing out here. Then we were brought out into the front, and they showed us over here that you can't see in the card was like a dead animal. So it's like, he's out here where it kind of stinks, he's out here where there's death and destruction and everything, but just right behind you is a completely different experience and way of being. And we see him, again, we're talking about the 12-12 portal. So what is this time? What is it ushering in? What is it bringing for the divine masculine right now? And we're seeing that this tower falling down and crashing down has the potential to knock him off of his feet. Like these guys are, knocked off of their feet. These energies right now, like I was saying, they're going to provide a bump. They might even provide a shove to knock some of us off of our feet, some of them off their feet, to get them to get movement. And where do they want him to go? Well, they want him to go back here. And you think about 8. 8 is the number, 8 wands behind him. 8 is the number of infinity, and it is like the constant, they were talking about showing us the nature that was there and this constant renewing cycle of nature, how it, it's like the infinity that just keeps going. And so that experience is there right behind him, even though, he doesn't see it. The bandage, they wanted him to take the bandage off his head because it's covering up your third eye. And that's what this tower experience is going to bring. This light that's coming in will truly bring this. And look what comes next. The King of Swords for me, in my readings, always comes up to represent my twin flame's higher self. And, like this, the two of, the priestess is of course always representative of mine, or just of intuition, connecting to your intuition. So this is, and that's even the characteristics of the King of Swords. He's very insightful. He is intuitive. We usually think of the King of Cups as being the intuitive one, but this is the intuition that really connects with thoughts and ideas, and it's what really comes through. And we have the butterfly above his head too, which, is again about, connecting to the higher realms, connecting to transformation, thoughts that transform. And this is really a great thing to see him move from this into here, because through this portal, the energy, the push, the bump, whatever it is bringing them into a place of greater perception and, piercing through in the thoughts and the ideas, which is really important. The masculine energy is very much grounded on earth and in earthly things. And so for them to be able to pierce through and have the insights and the, the ideas and things that come is really quite, that's what's needed. They do need to bring those thoughts and ideas from the higher realms down into the physical. And there are things that are lining up that will provide and make way for that to happen. So let's just take a look at the bottom of the deck card. Okay, so wow, we've got death, we've got transformation. This card came up again today. I shuffled before, you guys didn't even see, I shuffled like, I don't know, probably 20 times before I even turned on the camera. So we shuffled a number of cards came up that we had today. So I am going to pull up my notes on that. So one of the things that when we're doing our channelings, they show us, they'll interact with the card in interesting ways. And in this card, they went up to this guy here and they were tickling him underneath his arms, and then he was kind of like laughing and like shoving and pushing them off. Then they showed the horse moving forward, and how when he went over this body here, these people are, considered, this man is considered dead in the card. He goes over the man and he stomps on him with his left hind foot and hoof, and he did it on purpose. And it was shown to us that somebody who watched it might think that the horse did it, but it was actually the rider that trained him to do it. And now this might all seem kind of a little strange, but here's what came out of it. Just recently I had posted on Facebook an article that stated that people who see the dark humor in things, like the dark wit, and actually find it funny in some, like finding humor in dark things, actually is a sign of intelligence. And what came through us about this was they're saying death is usually viewed as being dark. It's viewed as being somber. And of course, we always take this card and say, well, it's really about transformation. Well, which it is. But, rather than focusing on the negativity of the death, we talk about the transformation that death brings. But they really wanted us to take a look at the fact that death in and of itself, like just if you're looking at this card from the perspective of death, that it has, like our perception needs to release judgment of death being a bad thing. They said it's like a actor on a stage, and if you're in a play where you die, then as soon as the curtain closes, you stand up again and you keep on living your life. And that's truly from the higher realms. That's how death is. Death is a transformation. Death is, the ending of one experience and the beginning of another, but it's not such a bad thing. So now, of course, I don't believe this card's coming up here because we're talking about literal death, but the concept and the idea of how something that needs to end is not a bad thing. I don't know if I have that sticking up too far. It's not a bad thing. It's just, if we can release and allow, let go of the judgment, then we are able to, you know, then we're okay. If we're judging death as being bad, then we're squeezing out the possibility of the light that's in the situation, and then we don't understand the light that's in the situation. So with what we went through here, again, this is for both the divine masculine and feminine. What we've gone through here in our past experience is completely transformational. What he's going through, I think, kind of next as a result of this light, again, of course, they've already been through, you know, much transformation as well. Completely transformational. And the important thing is to realize that this is not a bad thing. That even if there were experiences that when they, you know, ended, at the time you felt the loss and the sadness of it, it really actually is, well, it's divinely ordained, and it opens up the opportunities for something new to come in. So now I'm going to reshuffle the cards, and we're going to do a quick look at divine masculine and feminine, like a result. So I'm just asking Spirit to come through to give some messages for us at this time to see, you know, we saw what each individual, the twin flame individually has been experiencing and will continue to experience through the light, the light that's coming through this portal. And then if you could give us a glimpse and an idea of some things that we'll see for both of them coming through. And I really want to say in relationship to each other in either a physical way or a, you know, higher dimensional way, or both. And that, you know, for one thing, I'll just have to say right now, I've been on this journey for almost 4 years. 4 years ago, my husband and I separated, and it was 6 months later that I was brought into contact with somebody that I had known in college, and that turned out to be, you know, the beginning of my twin flame journey. So it's been a while, and there's never been any very long period of time during that entire period of time that I ever was able to walk away from being on the twin flame journey. There were a few times, of course, like we've all gone through, where we just, you know, kind of want to say, I'm done with this. Spirit and universe doesn't let you, and I'm come to a place now where I'm, you know, so solid in just where I'm at, that wants to come out. So I don't know where I was going with that. So, you know, we've been on this journey for a while, and the reward truly, or just the result, is the fruit of the journey. It's the fruit of the change. It's the fruit of the shift that is coming. The twin flames are on the front edge of all this energy shift. I've been told that up until now, up until the eclipse, most of the people who had experienced a significant awakening were starseeds. You know, you have a more ancient soul. We've done this before. And so even though we came up through the same heavy energies, we were able to wake up with a less amount of light, a lower level of light than others on the earth. But now we're beginning to, you know, the light quotient is reaching the point where, you know, many other souls are waking up as well. And the divine masculine, because they're so anchored into the earth energies, the energies of earth, that's one of the reasons that their apparent awakening has taken longer for many of them. But I was also assured that underneath it all, they've made just as much progress. It's just more of, you know, the conscious awareness of it is not as present. And of course, they still have more decisions to make. So once that happens, as a result of this time frame here, what does it look like for the divine masculine and feminine in relationship to each other? And, well, I'm just going to go ahead and turn them over. That guy again. Okay, so we got a couple of cards that came up twice. So, I think I'll pull these down a little bit. Okay, don't know if I can see them all. Yep, that's looking good. So we've got, again, the taking a stand. And I'm going to start here, actually. So this card and the experience that we're seeing here is that there is still, well, I shouldn't say still. So what I'm getting is that this is more the present effect and the results of the light coming in. And this is the foundation of what all of this stands on. That's pretty much how I usually read this spread. So the foundation of it has been an experience of not seeing things as they truly were, and not realizing that we have the ability to create and change the situation. And this is a card that has like a warning of being not pretending, of being the victim, so that if we were to just take control of our own destiny, we realize we can get out of the situation. And this is really beautiful because what I see is here taking a stand and moving on. And that's from this experience here. Now, we definitely have the divine masculine coming in. And in this case, I see this as him right here. And this is his experience as well, but it's the bottom of the deck really overshadows or like pertains to the entire spread. So when we have the focus here on the feminine and the beautiful qualities of the Queen of Cups, which all of the divine feminine, this actually epitomizes whether you have any water signs in your chart or not, which you probably do somewhere. We all do somewhere. Your Venus might be in a water sign if your sun, moon, or rising isn't. But regardless, this truly epitomizes the divine feminine aspect, because this woman, with her great, incredible love and understanding, she's incredibly perceptive and has unconditional love for all things and all people and for her partner. And so this Hermit, of course, is about the deep going within, the work that we did to get to this point. But again, this is for both of us. So the masculine, he's out here, he has also felt, experienced, and been brought right along with this experience because of her leading the way. And so he might be more on the outside. He might be, from the fringes, but he's totally affected. This is why the twin flame connection is truly the key for healing the schism and the divide between masculine and feminine on earth, both the physical separation and also within ourselves, because of the the heavy-handed patriarchy that has squelched and put down the feminine within all of us. That because of that condition, it's extremely hard for people to overcome the I'm trying to find the right word, the harm that the patriarchy has done to the feminine within all of us is extremely difficult to overcome. But by the masculine and feminine twin flame pairs dividing and then really polarizing within their own identity, to where she has such a strong, incredibly strong feminine aspect, and he's so strongly connected to the masculine, but because of our joint energy, we're the same person energetically. So unlike other people that do all of that work just only within themselves, we have incredibly powerful, because twin flames are angelic beings, the feminine doing her side of the work, and even though he's not consciously aware of it, that it is creating the same openings and the same pathways and the same progress that it does for ourselves. Now, it doesn't mean we don't come into balance within ourselves and they don't need to come into balance within themselves, or that they don't have their own work to do. But it just really, truly is this symbiotic relationship that's happened. And so that's what we see right here. We see us being able to break away from this, being trapped. I even feel like this representation of being trapped in, for everyone on the whole entire world is kind of like this, aren't we? We have, we've been blindfolded, we've been bound up, we have all of these swords around us, but all it takes is a conscious awareness of this, that we can break free. And so the conscious awareness is coming in, and the twin flames are leading that charge, and and light workers also leading that charge and showing the way. And it is through, finally the experiences that have happened that we're able to do that. So the Queen of Cups, the light from within, and then of course, look what it yields. It yields a brand new seeing each other for as who we truly are. And as you can see, the Two of Cups, they both each have the same cups in their hands. We see him reaching out his hand for her cup, but she's not reaching out her hand for his. See, she's just holding on, and just like she is here, she's holding on to her cup, And it is ultimately for him to make the move to reach out and take it, because that is the masculine yang. That's what the yang does. And here we see him depicted as doing that very thing. Going back to what this guy represents, he's incredibly creative. He gets things done. You can depend on him. And look, he's coming into the situation and into the spread, the result of this 12-12 gate, portal, the light that's coming in, the bump that we saw him receive from the tower falling, that energy that's coming is going to be giving him a bump that will bring him into this situation and to union together. So I hope you enjoyed the reading, and it went way longer than I meant for it to do, but of course that's often the case. And happy 12/12 all of you, and I will see you all later.